All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. So today we are going to be doing a deep dive into Mitolyn.
Mitolyn.
Yeah, exactly. This is a supplement that's been getting a lot of buzz,
It has.
and people have been asking us to dig into it a little bit. So
Yeah.
we're going to do that today. And we've got some excerpts from their website.
Okay, cool.
And yeah, we're just going to kind of go through and see what we can find out about it.
All right, sounds good.
So right off the bat, they're making some pretty bold claims.
Yes.
About weight management.
Yeah.
They're talking about natural fat burning boosted metabolism.
They are really hitting all the big things that people want.
Yeah.
Increased energy, managing your weight, and like you said, without crazy diets or insane workout routines.
Yeah, and they say all without extreme dieting or exercise.
Yeah. So
This
it
is-
sounds like the easy way to do it,
Yeah,
right?
sound amazing.
Like sign me up kind of thing.
Right, like where do I send my money?
Exactly.
But let's hold on a second. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. So they say that Mitolyn specifically targets these three things:
Okay.
fat storage, metabolic function, and appetite control.
Yeah, those are the big three.
Right.
When it comes to weight, there's no doubt about the question is how does it actually do that?
Right.
That's what we need to figure out.
Yeah, and that's where it gets a little bit frustrating
Okay.
because
Yeah.
the website, unfortunately, doesn't list the specific ingredients.
Really? I mean, come on, that's like pretty basic, right?
Yeah. I feel like that's something that you would want to know
Yeah, for sure.
if you're going to be putting something into your body.
It's kind of a must know,
Yeah.
Transparency is really key, especially when it comes to something you're actually ingesting.
Right.
And, typically reputable companies are pretty upfront about their ingredients.
Yeah.
So this does raise a little bit of a red flag for me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, how are you supposed to know if it works
Right.
if you don't know what's in it?
Exactly.
That's what I want to know.
For sure.
But okay, so ingredients aside, let's look at what they do say.
Okay. Yeah.
And they're really pushing this idea of effortless weight loss.
Effortless. Yeah.
Like, just take Mitolyn and watch the pounds melt away,
Who doesn't want that?
right?
Yeah.
I know, we all wish it were that easy.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
It would be so nice.
It'd be so nice.
But, it's important to remember that a healthy lifestyle still plays a huge role.
It does, yeah.
And supplements can potentially support your efforts, but
Right.
they're not going to replace healthy habits.
Exactly. They're not magic.
Yeah, there's no magic bullet, unfortunately.
Wish.
Right.
They wish.
But I will say,
Yeah.
even if it can give you like a slight edge,
Yeah,
maybe that's enough for some people.
maybe. But again, without knowing the ingredients, it's hard to evaluate how much of an edge it really might provide.
Okay.
It's like saying this car gets great gas mileage, but not telling you what kind of engine it has or what fuel it uses.
Yeah, it's a good analogy.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm getting a little skeptical, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to believe it, but without more information,
Right.
it's tough.
Yeah.
And speaking of information,
Okay.
let's talk about those customer reviews
The reviews.
on their website.
Yeah.
They've
Yeah.
got tons of 5-star ratings.
Yeah, a lot of positive feedback. That's always encouraging to see.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember that these are curated testimonials
Oh, yeah, for sure.
on the product's own website.
Of course.
So there's always a potential for bias there, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. It's like reading only the good reviews for a movie.
Exactly, yeah.
You're not getting the full picture.
Right.
I would definitely want to see what people are saying on like independent platforms
Yeah.
and forums and stuff like that to get a more balanced perspective.
Absolutely. Comparing reviews across different sites can help you spot patterns and potential concerns and whether those positive results are typical or just outliers.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got this mystery supplement.
Mm.
Big promises, but zero ingredient transparency.
Yeah. So far, not looking so great.
What do they say in their FAQs?
Okay. Yeah, maybe that'll shed some light.
Maybe we can get some answers there.
Hopefully.
All right, let's see.
Yeah.
Okay, so they address some common concerns like safety and dosage,
Okay, that's good.
and they even mentioned a money-back guarantee.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah.
That should instill some confidence, right?
Yeah, but a money-back guarantee doesn't necessarily mean the product actually works,
Yeah.
right?
That's true. It could just mean they have a good return policy.
Right, exactly.
And it's still no substitute for solid scientific evidence or knowing what's actually in the supplement.
Right.
Like saying, trust me, this plane can fly, and if it crashes, you'll get your money back.
Okay.
I'd still want to know about the engineering and the pilot's qualifications.
Okay. Yeah, that's a terrifying analogy.
Yeah.
But I get your point.
Yeah.
Okay, so money-back guarantee aside, What else do we know about how Mitolyn supposedly works?
All right, let's see. They talk about supporting the body's natural fat-burning mechanisms, but they don't provide any details about how it does that.
Mm.
And without the ingredient list, it's impossible to really assess those claims.
Yeah, it's so
Oh,
frustrating.
no.
It's like they're throwing around all these buzzwords,
Totally.
fat-burning metabolism boost,
Yeah.
but they're not giving us the concrete information we need to understand what's going on.
Yeah, you're right. It's like, give us the specifics. Don't just tell us it works. Explain why and how it works. That's what I'd want to know as a consumer.
Yeah, and that's what responsible supplement companies should be providing,
Absolutely.
detailed information backed by research so consumers can make informed choices.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so we've established that the lack of transparency is a big issue.
It is.
But let's play devil's advocate for a second.
Okay.
What if they do have a good reason for not disclosing the ingredients?
Okay.
Like maybe it's a proprietary blend they're trying to protect.
Okay, that's a possibility, but even then, they could provide more information about the mechanisms involved,
Okay.
Like, this blend works by stimulating certain metabolic pathways, or it targets specific hormones involved in fat storage. Give us something to go on.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Even if they're protecting a secret formula, they could still be more transparent about the science behind it.
Right, exactly. Because at the end of the day, it's about trust, right?
Yeah.
As consumers, we need to be able to trust the companies we're buying from, and that trust is built on transparency evidence and clear communication.
Totally. And that's something to keep in mind, not just with Mitolyn, but with any supplement or product you're considering.
Oh, for sure.
Do your research, ask questions, and don't be afraid to be skeptical.
I couldn't agree more. A healthy dose of skepticism is essential in today's world, especially when it comes to health and wellness products.
So even though we're missing some key pieces of the puzzle,
Yeah.
let's circle back to those 3 areas Mitolyn claims to target: fat storage, metabolism, and appetite control. Why are these areas so crucial for weight management? Let's break it down for our listeners.
Good point. Fat storage is a complex process influenced by genetics, hormones, and lifestyle choices. It's essentially how your body stores excess energy for later use.
Right. And some people's bodies just seem to store fat more easily than others.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a whole hormonal dance going on, and factors like stress, sleep, and even gut health can play a role.
Interesting.
So if Mitolyn can somehow influence fat storage in a positive way, that could be a game changer.
But again, we need to see the evidence. Right.
Without a doubt. Yeah.
Okay, what about metabolism? We touched on it briefly.
Yeah.
But why is it such a big deal when it comes to weight?
Well, your metabolism is like your body's internal engine. It determines how efficiently you burn calories even when you're at rest. A higher metabolic rate generally means you burn more calories throughout the day, making it easier to manage your weight.
So it's not just about how much you exercise. It's also about how well your body burns calories even when you're not working out.
Exactly, and that's why people talk about boosting their metabolism.
Yeah, that makes sense. And finally, appetite control.
Yes.
Why is that so important in the weight management equation?
Well, think about it. If you're constantly hungry, it's much harder to stick to a healthy eating plan. Appetite is regulated by a complex interplay of hormones and signals in the body, and some people really struggle with feeling full and satisfied even after eating a decent meal.
So if Mitolyn can help regulate appetite and reduce those cravings, that could be a huge help for people who struggle with portion control or emotional eating.
It could be, but again, we need to understand the mechanisms and the science behind those claims. What ingredients are responsible for this effect? How do they interact with the body's natural appetite regulating system? These are the questions we need answers to.
Okay, I'm seeing a pattern here. Transparency is key.
It is.
We need more information to assess the validity of these claims. But even if Mitolyn does what it says, I think it's important to remember that supplements are just one piece of the puzzle.
They are absolutely a healthy lifestyle, including a balanced diet, regular exercise, stress management, and good sleep is still the foundation for sustainable weight management.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've explored Mitolyn's claims, the missing ingredient list, and the importance of those 3 key areas they're targeting.
We have.
But what about those glowing 5-star reviews we mentioned earlier? Are they all just smoke and mirrors?
Well, as we discussed, it's important to approach testimonials with a healthy dose of skepticism, especially when they're curated on a product's website.
Right. We need to see what people are saying on independent platforms. And speaking of independent perspectives, I think it's time we dive into some of your research on Mitolyn.
Oh, yeah.
What have you uncovered from digging a bit deeper?
I love a good research rabbit hole.
I bet you do.
And what's fascinating is that while those glowing reviews do exist, There's also a whole spectrum of experiences out there.
Okay, spill the tea. What are people saying?
Well, you've got some individuals who swear by Mitolyn, claiming it helped them shed pounds, boost their energy, and just feel better overall.
Those are the kinds of stories that make you want to believe, right?
I know, right? Like maybe the stuff really is magic.
Yeah.
But then you also have folks who report no noticeable effects whatsoever. They took Mitolyn as directed, but their weight stayed the same, their energy levels didn't change, and they felt no different.
So it's not a universal wonder drug.
Not necessarily, and that's not surprising. To be honest, everyone's body is different, and what works wonders for one person might do absolutely nothing for another.
That's a good point. We often forget that individual responses to supplements can vary widely. What else did you find in your research?
Well, there were also some reports of mild side effects like digestive discomfort, headaches, or jitters.
Okay, so not completely risk-free then.
It seems that way, and that underscores the importance of consulting with your doctor before starting any new supplement, especially if you have pre-existing health conditions or taking medications.
Always good advice. It's easy to get caught up in the hype.
It is.
But we need to prioritize our health and safety above all else.
Absolutely, and that brings us back to the importance of informed decision-making.
So where does all of this leave us? What's the bottom line for our listeners who are wondering if Mitolyn is worth trying?
Well, I think the key takeaway here is that while Mitolyn presents an appealing solution for weight management, there are some significant gaps in the information provided.
Yeah, that missing ingredient list is a big red flag for me.
Yeah, and without knowing what's actually in the supplement, it's impossible to fully evaluate the claims being made.
Right. We can't just take their word for it.
No.
We need to see the evidence, understand the science, and consider the potential risks and benefits.
Exactly. And ultimately, the decision of whether or not to try Mitolyn is a personal one.
But it's a decision that should be made with all the facts in hand.
Absolutely. And with guidance from a healthcare professional who can assess your individual needs and potential interactions with any medications you're taking.
Well said. So as we wrap up this deep dive into Mitolyn, what's the final verdict? Is it a revolutionary breakthrough or just another overhyped weight loss gimmick?
I think the jury's still out on that one.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mixed bag. They're making bold promises, but the lack of transparency about ingredients raises some serious concerns.
Yeah, and while there are positive testimonials out there, there are also reports of no effects and even some mild side effects.
That's not a slam dunk. Either way, there's potential, but also reason for caution.
I think that's a fair assessment. Ultimately, it comes down to each individual's risk tolerance, their willingness to experiment, and their overall approach to weight management.
And their ability to critically evaluate the information available and make informed choices.
Exactly, because knowledge is power, especially when it comes to our health and well-being.
So for our listeners who are intrigued by Mitolyn, what would you say are the most important questions they should ask themselves before taking the plunge?
Well, first and foremost, what are my weight management goals? What have I tried in the past? And am I looking for a quick fix or a sustainable long-term solution?
Those are great starting points.
Well, what else? I'd also ask, am I willing to do my own research? Can I find reliable sources of information beyond the manufacturer's marketing materials?
And am I comfortable with the potential risks and uncertainties associated with a supplement that lacks transparency about its ingredients?
Exactly. It's about weighing the potential benefits against the potential downsides and making an informed choice based on your individual needs and circumstances.
So it's not a simple yes or no answer.
Right.
It's about asking the right questions, doing your due diligence, and making a decision that feels right for you.
Precisely, because ultimately it's your health, your body, and your choice.
Well said. And on that note, I want to leave our listeners with a thought-provoking question to ponder.
Okay.
If you were considering Mitolyn, what additional information would you need before making a decision? What questions would you ask your doctor? What kind of independent research would you do?
Those are excellent questions to consider because ultimately it's about taking ownership of your health journey and making choices that align with your values and goals.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Mitolyn, remember to stay curious, keep asking questions, and always prioritize your health and well-being.
And then don't forget to check out our other deep dives on the channel. We've got a whole library of fascinating topics waiting to be explored.
Thanks for joining us on this exploration. Until next time, stay informed, stay empowered, and keep diving deep.
Bye, everyone.
Okay, so we're talking about fat storage, metabolism, appetite control.
Yeah.
These are all like the big things.
They are the big players.
When it comes to, weight management.
Yeah, absolutely.
But So Mitolyn claims to target all of these things.
Right.
But how, like, what's the actual mechanism there?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, how are they actually influencing these processes?
Right, because they talk about supporting the body's natural fat-burning mechanism.
You do, yeah.
But they don't really give you any details about how that actually happens.
Right. And again, without that ingredient list, it's really hard to even speculate about how it might be working.
Yeah. And it's interesting. You mentioned metabolism earlier, because I think a lot of people hear that word
Yeah.
and they kind of have a general idea,
Yeah.
but they don't really fully understand, like, what metabolism actually is.
Right. It's kind of a buzzword.
Yeah.
It's thrown around a lot.
So can you break it down for us? Like, what exactly is metabolism and why is it so important when we're talking about weight?
Yeah. So essentially, metabolism is how your body converts food into energy.
Okay.
It's the process of taking what you eat and turning it into the fuel that your body needs to function.
Okay.
And it's a really complex process that's influenced by a whole bunch of factors like your genetics, your hormones, your activity levels.
It's not just about how much you eat.
No, not at all. It's about how efficiently your body uses the energy from the food you consume.
Okay.
And that's where the idea of a fast or slow metabolism comes in. Some people naturally burn calories more quickly than others.
So even if they're eating the same amount,
Exactly.
they might not gain weight as easily.
Right, because their metabolism is more efficient at converting that food into energy and using it up.
Interesting.
So if Mitolyn truly boosts metabolism, that could be significant because it means you're essentially burning more calories even at rest.
Okay, so then that brings us back to the question of how are they doing that?
Exactly. What pathways are they affecting? What's the science behind it?
Right. And without knowing the ingredients, it's impossible to say.
It really is.
Okay, so we've talked about metabolism, but what about appetite control?
Yeah, appetite control is another huge factor in weight management because let's face it, if you're constantly feeling hungry,
Yeah.
it's so much harder to stick to a healthy eating plan.
Right. It's all about willpower.
Willpower, exactly.
But willpower can only get you so far.
Exactly. And appetite is regulated by a complex interplay of hormones and signals in the body. And some people really struggle with feeling full and satisfied even after eating a decent meal.
So their body's not sending the right signals.
Right. And that can lead to overeating and weight gain.
So if Mitolyn can actually help with that,
Yeah.
if it can help regulate appetite and reduce those cravings,
Right.
that could be a game changer for a lot of people.
Absolutely. It could be really helpful for people who struggle with portion control or emotional eating.
Right.
But again, we need to understand how it's achieving that effect.
Right. Like, what are the ingredients that are responsible for this?
Exactly. How do they interact with the body's natural appetite regulating system? Those are the questions we need answers to.
Okay, so I think we're seeing a pattern here.
I think so.
Transparency is key.
It really is.
We need more information to assess the validity of these claims.
Mm-hmm.
But even if Mitolyn does everything it says it does,
Yeah.
it's important to remember that supplements are just one piece of the puzzle.
They are absolutely. A healthy lifestyle is still the foundation for sustainable weight management.
Right. You can't just take a pill and expect everything to magically change.
Exactly. You need to support those efforts with a balanced diet, regular exercise, stress management, good sleep. All of those things play a role.
Okay, so to sum it up so far,
Yeah,
we've got a supplement with some interesting claims, but some pretty big question marks,
definitely.
especially around the ingredients and the science behind it all.
Absolutely. And that makes it hard to give a definitive thumbs up or thumbs down
Right.
at this point.
And I think that's okay. Like, we don't always have to have all the answers.
No, not at all. And that's part of the fun of these deep dives, right?
Right.
We're exploring together, we're asking questions, and we're trying to get to the bottom of things.
Exactly. And sometimes the answer is, we need more information. And that's okay.
It's okay to say we don't know yet, but we're going to keep digging.
Exactly. So let's keep digging.
Let's do it.
So I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about some of the independent research that you've done on Mitolyn. Because, we've looked at their website, we've seen the claims they're making.
Right.
We've seen those glowing 5-star reviews.
Yeah.
But what are people saying outside of that controlled environment?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, I always like to take a look beyond the marketing materials
Right.
and see what real people are experiencing.
So what have you found?
Well, it's interesting because while those glowing reviews do exist,
Hey.
there's also a whole spectrum of experiences out there.
Okay. Spill the tea. What are people saying?
Okay, so on one end of the spectrum, you've got people who absolutely swear by Mitolyn.
Okay.
They say it's helped them lose weight, boost their energy, and just feel better overall.
Those are the kinds of stories that make you want to believe it works.
Right?
I
No,
know.
right? Like maybe this stuff really is a miracle.
Yeah.
But then on the other end of the spectrum,
Okay.
you have folks who report no noticeable effects whatsoever.
Really?
Yeah, they took Mitolyn as directed, but their weight stayed the same. Their energy levels didn't change, and they felt no different.
So it's not a magic bullet for everyone.
Right. It seems like individual responses can vary quite a bit.
Which I guess isn't that surprising when you think about it.
No, not really. Everyone's body is different.
Right.
And what works wonders for one person might do absolutely nothing for another.
That's a good point. We often forget that individual responses to supplements can vary widely. Did you find anything else in your research?
Yeah, so there were also some reports of mild side effects.
Okay, like what kind of side effects?
Things like digestive discomfort, headaches, or jitters.
So not completely risk-free then.
It seems that way, and that's why it's so important to consult with your doctor before starting any new supplement, especially if you have pre-existing health conditions or are taking medications.
Yeah, always a good reminder.
It is.
It's easy to get caught up in the hype.
It is.
But we have to remember to prioritize our health and safety above all else.
Absolutely. And that brings us back to the importance of informed decision-making.
So where does all of this leave us? What's the bottom line for our listeners who are wondering if Mitolyn is worth trying?
Well, I think the key takeaway here is that while Mitolyn presents an appealing solution for weight management, there are some significant gaps in the information provided.
Yeah.
And without knowing what's actually in the supplement, it's impossible to fully evaluate the claims being made.
Right. We can't just take their word for it. We need to see the evidence, understand the science, and consider the potential risks and benefits.
Exactly. And ultimately, the decision of whether or not to try Mitolyn is a personal one.
But it's a decision that should be made with all the facts in hand.
Absolutely. And with guidance from a healthcare professional who can assess your individual needs and potential interactions with any medications you're taking.
It's kind of like we're putting together a puzzle, you know?
Yeah.
But some of the pieces are missing.
Exactly.
We've got these like intriguing claims, some positive feedback,
Right.
but then there are all these question marks around the ingredients and the science.
Yeah. And that's where critical thinking comes in, you know?
Right.
It's not about blindly accepting or rejecting everything we hear, but taking a step back and saying, okay, what do we actually know what's missing and what additional information do I need to make an informed decision?
Yeah, it's about being an active participant in your own health journey,
Absolutely.
not just following trends or taking something because someone else said it worked for them.
Exactly. And, you know, it's interesting how this whole conversation ties into a broader theme we've been exploring on the show.
Oh, yeah.
The importance of evidence-based decision-making.
For sure.
Whether it's a supplement, a new diet, or even a medical treatment,
Right.
we need to be asking those tough questions and looking for solid evidence to support the claims being made.
And not just accepting things at face value.
Right. Especially when it comes to our health.
Exactly.
We need to be savvy consumers, digging a little deeper, and considering multiple perspectives.
Okay, so as we wrap up our deep dive into Mitolyn, what are some key takeaways our listeners can apply to their own health decisions?
Well, I think the first takeaway is the importance of questioning everything.
Okay.
You know, don't just assume that because a product is marketed a certain way or has positive reviews, that it's automatically right for you.
Right, and don't be afraid to be a little skeptical.
Right. If something sounds too good to be true,
Yeah,
it probably is.
exactly. Healthy skepticism is a good thing.
It is.
It means you're engaging your critical thinking skills
Right.
and not just blindly following the hype.
Absolutely. Second takeaway, transparency matters.
Yes.
We can't stress this enough.
Huge.
If a company is making specific claims about their product, they should be able to back them up with evidence and be transparent about what's in it.
Ingredient lists, research studies, clear explanations of how it works.
Yes.
These are all things we should be looking for as informed consumers.
Absolutely. Third takeaway, individual responses vary.
Okay.
What works for one person might not work for another. Our bodies are unique, and there's no one-size-fits-all solution when it comes to health and wellness.
So true.
And that's why it's so crucial to consult with your doctor or a qualified healthcare professional before starting any new supplement or making significant changes to your diet or exercise routine.
They can help you assess the potential risks and benefits
Exactly.
based on your individual health history
Right.
and make sure you're making choices that are safe and appropriate for you.
Absolutely. And finally, I think the biggest takeaway from all of this is the importance of taking ownership of your health journey.
Okay.
It's about being proactive, doing your research, asking questions, and making informed decisions that align with your values and goals.
So well said. It's about being an active participant in your own health,
Yes,
not just a passive recipient of information or products.
exactly. It's about empowering yourself with knowledge and making choices that support your overall well-being.
And on that note, we want to leave you with one final thought to ponder.
Okay.
What does informed decision-making mean to you? What steps do you take to ensure you're making choices that are right for your body and your health?
We'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences. Share them in the comments below, and let's continue this conversation together.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Mitolyn. We hope you found it informative and empowering.
And remember, stay curious, keep asking questions, and always prioritize your health and well-being.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.